Hello and welcome to Cavs Daily, your one-stop shop for everything Cavs related and the authority for all Cavs news, Cavs opinions, anything to do with the Cleveland Cavaliers and Cleveland sports, really. This is the place to be for it. I'm your host, Paul Williams. Appreciate you guys tuning in with me today as we have a lot to talk about with the season fast approaching. I hope you'll join me the entire way until the season gets started, through the season, through our championship run, and beyond. If you could, please like, subscribe, comment, and let's get all that out the way so we can talk about the stuff we're here for, and that's Cavs talk. And I'm just going to get right to it. It might sound crazy, just kind of like when you say it, but when you really break it down, I don't think it's that crazy. The Cavs have, I think, a top three player at every position in the Eastern Conference, besides maybe small forward, which, yeah, I guess DeAndre Hunter, honestly, with how he's looking, maybe we're talking different next year. But for now, we'll say the Cavs have a top three point guard, shooting guard, power forward, and center in the Eastern Conference. And just so you don't think it's cap and I'm just talking crazy, let's go through it a little bit and you tell me below where I'm wrong or what I'm missing. But if we're talking about point guards in the Eastern Conference, I mean, Cade Cunningham, Trae Young, Tyrese Maxey, LaMelo Ball. I mean, I think that Darius is in the mix with all of them. I think there's an argument that Darius Garland is as good or better than all of them. I guess Trae and Cade would have the biggest argument to be ahead of him at this very moment. But at worst, I'm putting him at third. And you're lying, or you have revisionist history, or you just weren't paying attention if you don't think that throughout most of the last year, Darius Garland was clearly a top two point guard in the East. I mean, he made the All-Star game as a point guard. That tells you all you need to know. So I don't think that's outlandish by any means. I think LaMelo still has a lot to prove before he's really in the elite tier of point guards. He really hasn't done anything yet. I like him. He's a good player. I've followed his career. I'm a Ball fan in general, but all the Ball brothers I support, and I rock with them, but yeah, he's just not there yet, and Maxey is like on the brink. He's close, but I'd say Trae, Cade, and Darius are the top three in whichever order you want to rank them. I could probably be persuaded, but yeah, so PG stamped. Cavs have a top three. Shooting guard. Do I really need to waste the minutes in here talking about the best shooting guard in the East? I mean, the best in the NBA. Sorry, Anthony Edwards, but we have him, Donovan Mitchell. That's easy. Let's move on. And honestly, I have kind of the same answer for power forward. Of course, Evan Mobley is a top three power forward in the Eastern Conference. He's number one to me, and I don't think it's really that close. I mean, unless you consider, I guess, Giannis a power forward. I always look at him as a small forward, but if you did consider him a power forward, okay, yeah. But still, Evan Mobley's easily top three. And then center, I mean, the much maligned Jared Allen. Unfortunately, for all the people that hate him, he is a top three center in the East if you really look at it. I mean, the contenders are Karl Anthony Towns when he's playing center, Bam Adebayo when he's playing center, Jared Allen, Miles Turner, I guess, Vukovic from the Bulls, but no. And in the East, I mean, that's pretty much it. Porzingis when he plays center, I guess, as well. But again, I wouldn't really consider him a center. I mean, I'd put Cat and Bam ahead of Jared Allen, but I'd have him right at number three ahead of Miles Turner and Vukovic and anyone else that's starting center in the East. So there it is. There's my explanation. The Cavs have a top three point guard, shooting guard, power forward, and center in the Eastern Conference. And I think that's valid. I don't think there's many places you can say I was really like reaching at. You can maybe disagree a little bit, but no reaches were made for me on that one. So yeah, it's exciting to think about it when you look at it that way. The Cavs are elite in so many spots, and hopefully they put it all together. But there's no doubt we have top tier players at pretty much every starting position. Now, on the opposite end of that, what are the holes that we see the Cavs have going into the regular season with just one preseason game left, which will be played on the day of this recording against the Pistons at home. So being so close to real basketball finally being played, what holes do the Cavs really have if you look at their roster? We talked about this earlier in the offseason before some of the moves we made were made, and I think it's changed things. Like I thought our biggest need was depth at the big man position behind Mobley and Jared Allen, but I think with Larry Nance and Thomas Bryant, we're pretty set there. And Tomlin, even though he didn't have the best preseason, the Cavs showed they have faith in him and they like his game. So I think we're pretty good there. We could always get better if you're being like literal. Yeah, of course, there's a position somewhere, or any position really could get better unless you have the best player at that position. But I don't see many holes on this Cavs team. I think our starting five we just talked about is elite. Our depth, I think, is pretty elite as well. Our shooting, our offense should be up to par with last year, at least close to it, which was one of the best in history. I think our defense will revert back to the top five defense that they've been for a while. I think we have all the pieces to do that. Veteran leadership was something we talked about, as that could possibly be a place the Cavs could still improve at, but with guys like Larry Nance and Thomas Bryant now in the mix, and even Lonzo Ball, I think that's really going to help come together with Donovan and Jared, guys who have now been through it for a little while, even Darius Garland. And I think they're going to have a good mix of leadership. I guess if I would say any hole or weakness, and I don't even think it's really a hole or a weakness, but a place that can be looked at is maybe scoring off the bench if DeAndre Hunter does continue to start. That means Strus and Lonzo Ball would probably be the first two off the bench, along with Larry Nance. And while overall I like our bench a lot, that unit does lack a little scoring unless Sam Merrill gets hot, or maybe Jalen Tyson is in that mix and he shows that he can be a little bit of a scoring punch off the bench. So if there was anything I had to point out at this moment, a week before the season starts, I guess it would be scoring off the bench if DeAndre Hunter does start. Outside of that, I just think injuries, like we just have to stay healthy. That's our obvious biggest possible weakness if we do get struck with the injury bug again. So those are the two things I think that stick out as areas where I wouldn't be concerned about, but it's something to keep an eye on and something that we might have to look at improving, not the injury part, but the bench scoring part as the season goes along. Speaking of our bench, what do you think about this year's version of the Cavs bench compared to the 2024 and 2025 bench? There are some big differences. I mean, if you think about it, last year at the beginning of the year and early parts of the year, once Strus was healthy, our bench was guys like Ty Jerome, Karis LeVert, Niang, Merrill, Dean Wade. So a few guys that are still here, but LeVert, Jerome, Niang, they're all gone now, and they were big pieces of the bench for at least half of last year until two of them were traded. And then, of course, we lost Jerome in the offseason. We've replaced those guys with Lonzo Ball, Larry Nance. I mean, Naquan Tomlin was already here, but he's kind of elevated now. Thomas Bryant, Killian Hayes, and DeAndre Hunter. So while last year's bench was very good for us, and I like that core of the bench we had with LeVert, Jerome, Niang, guys like that. I did like it, but I think this year's bench has a higher ceiling and is built to win more in the playoffs. I think last year's bench might have been able to come in and maybe score more points at a certain time in a regular season game, or look more offensively inclined again at times during the regular season. But I think when it really comes down to it, the bench we have this year and the guys we have on this year's bench, I just think they're built so much better to help mix in with our core guys and our starters and really fill those gaps that we saw come out during the playoffs last year, when it got to a point we didn't really have many bench guys at all we could rely on even for 10, 15 minutes. I think we have a lot of those guys now that could become that in a clutch situation in the playoffs. Even a guy like Thomas Bryant, he might be big for a game or two in the playoffs here or there. And I don't know if guys like Niang or, well, Jerome kind of showed it last year in the playoffs. Their game isn't as suited for a slowed down, half court, grinded out type of game, which it turns into in the playoffs. So I think this year's bench gives the Cavs a much higher ceiling. And because of that, I'm taking this year's bench because I'm trying to win championships. The regular season stuff is cool. Going on scoring runs when the starters come out is great to see, but I'd rather see guys that I can still feel comfortable with when it's a tough playoff game in a hostile environment, and we need guys to give our starters a little rest or to maybe shake things up because our starters weren't playing as well as we would hope. So I like this year's bench better, but both benches did have positives, and they were both really high-end benches and some of the best in the NBA. So I think we keep that status quo, having one of the better benches in the NBA, and I think this year's will help us when we need it the most. And for the final topic of the day today, we're going to give the Eastern Conference top 6 rankings as we are about as close to the season as we can get. We've now gotten to see all the training camps, pretty much all the preseason, all the moves for the most part have been made. And now we can really zero in and give our updated Eastern Conference rankings. We'll do this all throughout the year, and it'll be ever-changing as the NBA is ever-changing, and no one's going to ever get it perfect. Teams are going to surprise. There's going to be injuries. So this is subject to change. But for now, we're going to start off at number 6. And at number 6, I have a team that a lot of people are higher on. I still need to see it before I really commit to them. The Atlanta Hawks. They have a lot of good pieces. I really like Jalen Johnson and Dyson Daniels, but they have to stay healthy and put it together for a full season. So I can see them rising, but I can also see them not far from the play-in. They have a very wide range of outcomes. At number 5, the Detroit Pistons. I went back and forth on this because I think they're another team that could finish 4 or 5, but also could be in the play-in. They had one solid year last year. Before that, years and years of futility. So I just need to see more. Cade Cunningham, last year was really the first year he put it together in a way that is conducive to winning basketball games. They had a lot of guys contribute and have years that just were way higher than what people expected. But I do think the loss of Malik Beasley will hurt. They replaced him with Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson. I don't know if those guys will come nearly as close to the production that Beasley gave them last year, and probably the best year of his career. So the Pistons are another team that I don't have a ton of faith in, but I wouldn't be surprised with the top 4 or 5 finish. Then at number 4, we have the Milwaukee Bucks. I just think Giannis and Turner are good enough if they gel the way it seems like they will, with Turner being able to stretch the floor. I think they're going to surprise and be a really solid team this year. At number 3, I have the Orlando Magic. I went back and forth because the Magic are another team I'm not sold on, but they do have talent. They have a solid starting 5, and if their guys can stay healthy, they should at least be fighting for home court in the Eastern Conference, at least in the first round. Then at number 2, I have the New York Knicks, the team the Cavs will be playing on opening night next Wednesday, and also on Christmas, and very possibly in the playoffs. The Knicks, of course, have a very good team. Don't know about their bench. They added some decent pieces, but it's still to be determined how they fit with the starting 5. And they could be a really good team, or they can kind of revert back to good, but not knocking on the door of elite, which is kind of where they're at right now. They're for now a top 5 or 6 team overall in the NBA, and they're rightfully so number 2 in these rankings. Then at numero uno, you guessed it, what a surprise, our Cleveland Cavaliers. That is not fanboying or being a homer in any way. The Cavs are, in my eyes, the clear favorites in the East and the number 1 team till proven otherwise. I actually think they're the number 1 team in the NBA, but I guess that's a conversation for another day. But yeah, the Cavs are the number 1 team in the East. Everyone else is going to be coming for that. But as of now, these rankings, and I think any non-super biased rankings, would have the Cavs at number 1 in the East. With the end of that comes the end of this episode, but don't fret, because you know I'll be back tomorrow with another banger. Until then, please subscribe if you haven't yet. It means a lot, and it really helps the channel grow. Gonna be doing some new cool interactive things soon, so stay with me, guys. If you have any other ideas, comments, complaints, always leave it in the section. I never get in my feelings. We can always improve at what we're doing. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow.